What's happening, financial coaches? It's Pete here. I want to talk to you about call reviews or session reviews or video conference reviews. One of the things that you can do is, especially if you're working with people over Zoom, is just set it to auto record. I usually like doing that for my Zoom conferences because, if I'm interviewing someone and I want to use that for content, particularly when I've interviewed people and put that up on my podcast and those types of things, I just record it and then edit it after that. But one of the big reasons here is that a lot of us may be sole practitioners. You're just doing this on your own. You're not being mentored or under an umbrella of a company or an agency that's doing this. And one of the things that I've done, especially in the corporate space, is do constant session reviews. And for us that would do them on the phone, we would just record those phone calls. The system we used recorded everything. It was part of the terms and conditions. If you don't have that permission in your contracts, then you'd have to be careful with that. But in my contracts, it always said that calls, conferences may be recorded for quality assurance and training, right? So that was agreed to, before we would engage. Now, I would say the advantage of that is not obviously to share anything, but the purpose of this is one, I did it because I wanted to make sure that we weren't doing something outside of our purview, that we weren't getting ourselves in trouble, we weren't giving investment advice or any of those other things. And if anyone ever came back to claim that we did, we could go back to the calls and take a look and see if we did err and we were going to have to put an insurance claim. And luckily never had to do that, or if we needed clarification or something. But the big reason, the primary reason for doing this, was so that we could have someone else objectively look at what we were doing and see if there were areas to improve or if we were getting ourselves in trouble. I mean, it's the pro and con of it. And sometimes I've seen people that do coaching call or session reviews have a long list of criteria. They're kind of ranking that. How well are we looking at motivation and accountability and action planning and milestones and celebration and all these other things, right? And that wasn't my purpose. I did have some criteria that I was looking for. Are we moving the ball down the field? Are we helping them advance? Or are we just on the phone talking, killing time? We're there to try to help coach people, right, to get better, just like a sports coach wants you to be a better ball striker or score better or improve, right? And so we're trying to do that with our clients, and that's what I wanted. But my assumption always was that the coach and the client were going to know more about what's right for that relationship than any third party observer, right? So as I'm always listening to the calls or reviewing them, I don't know the full backstory. I don't know how many times sometimes they have met. I don't know, kind of the nuance of, was this a big goal, right? Was saving $500 something that was really hard, or was it something that was really easy? And because as a coach, I know that's very different. I have worked with people for a year. We have been trying to save $500, put $500 in savings account. And it's one step forward, two steps back. Sometimes something happens and that money gets disappeared and blah, blah, blah. I've also had people say, hey, my goal is to save $100,000 in 3 months. And I know that's a sandbag goal because they have $1 million bonus coming in March, right? An end of the year bonus or something like that. So saving $100,000 of $1 million bonus is probably not the hardest thing in the world. So, things that might seem pretty disparate on paper do not necessarily mean that they are of equal amounts of effort, right? And so I don't know any of that. But what I wanted to do is just see, are there things that I could give back to the coach to say, hey, this maybe seemed like a missed opportunity, or I'm just kind of curious why you did this because there might have been a great reason for it, but it seems like a missed opportunity for me, or they did something really great. Hey, I saw that you picked up on that one cue that they talked about the relationship, or they talked about their upbringing with money, and you kind of dug into that a little bit and gave them a eureka moment, some insights into why they do what they do. And I thought that was really great. So I think a lot of that helps us become better. And I've done it myself, right? And I've kind of had a session. I've been like, oh man, I don't know if that was great. And talked to a peer and said, hey, would you review this with me? And what did you think? And did I miss that? Or did you think that went well? I wasn't sure how they were picking up on that. And that's always been really helpful for me. Now, it's not like I do that on every call, but especially, on some that maybe you're just feeling a little uneasy about it. You're just kind of, you're unsure about it or whatever, or you bombed one. Maybe you felt just off and you just felt like there wasn't a connection, or maybe you felt like there was a connection and that client never came back, and so you were confused because your expectation of what happened does not match the outcome of it, right? And so it's always nice to have some of these other people, and especially other coaches with other expertises that might say, oh, you know what, they were talking about real estate, and you were kind of talking about some more basic things, and I think it just came across as stuff that they already knew, whatever it might be. right? So basically, my long-winded setup here is that who is doing your call reviews? Are you even doing your call reviews, right? And I think I know it's just a tendency for a lot of times when we do a session, we take some notes or whatever it might be, we kind of review it. All right, we decompress, we move on, we just immediately assume, hey, that was as good as I can do, and kind of move on. But I think sometimes in the downtime, we got to say, hey, let's go back. Am I getting better, right? Let's look at some of these original sessions. Let's watch some of the Zoom recordings, whatever it might be. Are you doing that? That would probably be, if you don't have anyone else, that's probably better than nothing to just kind of say that. Although I don't know that we're the most objective on our own work. But if you do have that other expert who can watch something with you, listen to something with you, or listen to it on their free time, which is probably going to be more convenient for them, send them a file or whatever. Say, hey, can you take a listen and tell me what you think? And they say, hey, I think you did well, but it still seemed like you dove into the issue a little early. It didn't seem like you did enough, relationship building at the front end, or maybe you spent too much time there. And I thought you missed the opportunity to explain the debt snowball, or to talk about interest rate optimization, or whatever it might be, right? And so I think reviewing calls, looking for opportunities where you can improve, looking at moments in your coaching career where you say, hey, I do want to improve, right? And be open to that, and feedback, and honest feedback. And sometimes can seem a little harsh, I think those are important. So, when are you going to do those reviews? Do you have the mechanisms in place to be able to do them? You don't have to record everything, but especially on things that you think, hey, this might be good for 6 months from now, a year from now, a week from now, whenever, to kind of come back and say, hey, am I improving? Are there gaps where I need to address my knowledge? So hopefully that helps. I'll see you later.